Becky?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Missy, take a roll call, please.
Fritz,
Here. Here.
Becky, here. Tanya,
Here.
Libby,
Here.
I declare we have a quorum tonight. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
My second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, new business, event request, Fox Garden, Jay Burgess. Send him a text. We'll come back to him. Andrea? Event request, please.
I'm Andrea McCaughey. How is everybody?
Great.
Sorry for coming in such short notice. I had some family issues, so I am just now able to make it in front of you. So I apologize for the late notice. But we are trying to get approved for our second annual Old Mill Classic Car Show. This year, instead of having it on Knoll and over by Landmark Park, we are requesting that, that we would like to go to Memorial Park, and that we are asking if we could close off Church Street from Merrill back to accommodate for all the cars. We had over 125 cars last year. Ducktail, we know that James Dean has been canceled, and we're just waiting on hear from Ducktail. So this really could be a very large show for the town. It was a great turnout last year. Everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. From what I heard, the business owners on Main Street were happy as well. An extra 125 cars equals money for the town. And so we would like to turn around and do it again this year.
Thank you. So it's Merle?
Merrill,
East.
please.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
It'd be west. You're talking about closing it on Church from Merrill back into the
Yes,
park.
yes. Is that west?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I was just curious. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
And then,
No.
how's people going to get around Maine? It should be closed there at Maine also?
No.
Just have to
Nope.
divert it, or it's going to be open?
Open.
Okay, all right.
Make it simple for everybody, business owners. And the reason why is because if it, realistically, if it rains, we have streets, we have parking areas in the park, nobody wants to park their car in the grass, and it just makes it safer for everybody.
Right.
And we're hoping we'll turn around and have another large crowd again.
Okay. Now, do we need to talk to the residents so they're not parking on that section? Because I think there might be only, 3 or 4 cars that park out there, Libby?
What, on Church?
Oh, you're on stat. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I walk over there all the time.
Okay.
Nobody really parks out
Just-
on that street, but there are driveways that go in there.
Okay.
There's might be a couple that park.
It's
between
the
Merrill
rental over there.
and
but,
McCarty. There are a couple that
right
park
there
there.
by the church.
And-
So we'll just get a hold of them. let
And
them
we're
know.
just for safety issues.
I agree.
So inside the park, where are they parking?
Well, we have designated areas down below where the baseball diamonds are. There's the youth center over there. And then we're going to go in and make designated areas for them to park in. And we have a local car club that does all that. So the Push Rods they hosted it last year. They run the actual car show. They're the ones that would run it for Garner's as well, about 10 to 12 years ago or so. Probably more than that because I've been around for 12
So you're
years.
closing from Merrill West, not.
Just
east.
west.
Okay.
Yes, just
That
back to the
was,
park,
okay,
please.
I understand now.
Yes.
So it's church
We
going
could
west.
probably, are you gonna use the parking lot at 10 West?
We might just for like us to park at, but for
Okay.
cars, no, in the park because it's one way in, it's one way out. It makes it safe for everybody. This is a family event. We're gonna have vendors, and I have my friends are coming back, Bigger Than Elvis. They're just he's got a different lineup right now, so that's another big draw.
People will need to walk in the park.
Yes.
They won't have to drive
Yes.
down there.
Yes,
Okay.
That's probably
that
smart.
doesn't have a car.
Car park.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here because I was going to ask if,
I've got athletic teams booked out on Saturday.
That's what,
Like from basically 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. every Saturday, every Sunday, Monday through Thursday. Teams using the park. Now, teams that are playing in tournaments won't be utilizing practice facilities. I can find out how many that is, but I'm still gonna have teams that won't be playing in tournaments that are gonna need a place for practice. Has been on the books since March.
Saturday.
We're not looking to be actually on the grass. And if you could work with us, we'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Accommodate.
talking as far as getting in, getting out,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. You know, maybe a situation where you have people posted wherever the,
Yeah, to let
their kids are
everybody
at,
in.
that
I have
you
children.
Let them in. So, like I said, I can find out. We're still a little bit out, but, that would be a concern of mine.
Okay.
So,
So who's using the park, Heath?
we've got athletic teams from all over the county and.
Didn't know anybody was
Tri-county
playing
area
anything.
using
They are.
the
Have they
athletic-
Girls
started?
softball and all that.
They've started?
Mhm.
I didn't realize that.
That's good. I didn't realize they had either.
I didn't either.
Do the Optimists play out there now?
The Optimists canceled their season. These were all,
Out of town teams?
Mount Vernon based or local based, like Tuttle Pell, Mount Vernon Youth Baseball, which is kind of affiliated with the school/football. All of their teams have been practicing out there on Saturdays and Sundays, so.
Great.
I just wonder what that would look like. I'm trying to, do you have a map or anything of like how, are the cars parked? You're saying not on the grass?
Not on the
Side
grass.
of the
Not on the
road,
grass.
spaced out?
Yes, yes.
And
I,
then-
unfortunately, I apologize. I do not have a map for you, just to be.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I'm concerned about. Are people trying to get around the cars and is there enough room? I don't want the cars to be, and people walking around them to see them. I don't want someone coming in for a sporting event to, because you're saying no driving in, you want the park.
Well, we would like
Blocked
to
off.
use the park, but we understand if there's
Yeah.
children there, that's a present,
Yeah.
of everybody's concerned. I mean, like yourselves, we all have children and keep them safe and parents parking and whatnot. But with any car show, you have people walking around, you have kids walking around, you have, some car shows are not blocked off. Some of them, we've done it on Main Street with cruise-ins on Wednesday nights. So, I mean, if everybody can accommodate everybody, it'd just be a win-win for the whole town.
Why are you opting to go off of like on, you were on Noel last year and
Mhm.
Stat? That seemed to work really nicely.
I'm no longer in that facility.
Do you need the facility or just, I mean, because that back road, I really thought
It's-
that's a nice place where we could shut off. It doesn't really affect a lot of
It
people.
did not work. We had people coming in so many different directions that when registration came in and you have all those people and you have people wanting to come in from this way and that way, and as we all know, you can tell somebody to come in, you can give them maps, you can lead them, but not always are they going to follow. So that is why we decided to move it. Plus, it's safer over in the park area. And if you do bring your kids, I mean, I know that the other park is right there, but there's swing sets and whatnot as well too. So that's why we thought that it'd be easier and safer for everybody if we moved it over to the park.
You could probably push it back into the park and start it at the entrance to the Babe Ruth, and that would keep all it clear for the diamonds if they're using, you're just using the front diamonds, right?
And the back,
Which,
very back, walk down by the sewer plant, the Little League Diamond back there.
okay,
Listen, we worked together with the township when they did the food pantry deal, which was pretty big, a couple weeks ago. I think it was the first weekend in June, maybe, so about a month ago. Again, it was a Saturday, we had practices going on, so we made that work. The biggest thing that I would need to look at would be some kind of map and try and figure out, to Libby's point, just figure out kind of what that footprint looks like. Are parking lots being used, where, how does, 125 cars could be smushed in, a pretty small area, or could be spread out through the whole park.
And I'd be more than happy to sit down and communicate and work all that out and just sit down and then let you see, visualize, and us just communicate and absolutely.
Andrea, how does it work for trash and restrooms?
We have porta potties coming in, we have trash receptors, recycle. I mean, I can't stand litter bugs at all. So I'm really big on picking up and not leaving a footprint where you are.
I just don't want it all to fall on Heath. He's already got.
We already have, I believe it's GES.
Okay.
So So am I hearing that right? That it sounds like there's general consensus for the event, but we'd rather have the road open in and out of the park?
Yeah, I
To
think
allow
you're
for
you're
the-
asking for closure, but he needs it open.
And
Okay.
we can all work together. I wasn't aware, he wasn't aware. So, I mean, absolutely.
I would say you can get with the chief, work out a plan that
Mhm.
they feel comfortable with on where the cars can park on the road and yet leave it open for traffic to get in and out.
They can serve fire trucks.
If I, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
safety always.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the request pending a workable parking plan to be agreed on by the chief.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.
Okay. Did anyone show up for Fox Garden?
I texted Jake and he said he's in Fishers at an event, but they got away from him and he apologized.
Okay. We'll catch up with that later. What day is that on?
8:15.
August 15th, I think.
Okay, so he can come to the next meeting. Plus, he's already done that 4 or 5 times already, so I don't think there's any.
Is anybody going to have any questions for him or is it look like it's the same? Fritz, does it look like it's the same thing or is it going to be?
Yeah, it
anything
looks like
different?
same thing, August 15th. He'll have a band out there and an auction.
All right. Do we want him here or do you want to proceed? Do you want him here or do you want to proceed with the request?
Do you want to go ahead and prove it the way it is, or do you want him to come in in 2 weeks if you have any questions? Let me look at it.
He does it every year, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I don't think
He
there's
does
any
it every
problem.
year.
I didn't notice anything different.
Let me read over this real quick.
Times were the same, Joe?
Is there any road closures?
If I could add that,
Yeah.
the only thing he's really asking for the special event is because he needs.
The parking.
Part of that parking lot,
Mhm.
which is about maybe 8 to 10 spots right there.
Mhm.
And then I think with the music going on till 11 o'clock. So other than that, I mean, if it wasn't for that, he would be.
Right. And the trash has always been good.
He's been excellent.
And he doesn't close down,
Mm-mm. Well,
no.
No, he
He
didn't.
doesn't close down yet.
Okay, all right.
You can go ahead and approve it.
I make a
Chief,
motion
you
we
don't have any
approve.
concerns about that one? You don't have any concerns about that one?
No, it's never been an issue.
I make a motion to approve Fox Gardens request as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. All right, I can put that away. Okay, the next on the list, council to approve provide input and consider holding a first reading of ordinance number 2020-7A, a voluntary annexation request of 930 West, 1050 North, property approximately 60 acres in total size, which encompasses 3 parcels owned by Lily's Land Company LLC. Is Adam here?
Adam's not here. Joe, do you want to
Joe.
talk? Or I can't. I think we both maybe Joe.
I thought I saw him.
Adam is not here tonight. He's on vacation. Won't be back until I believe it's next Monday. Plus Missy's got another date that we're looking at. So, but yeah, this is a property that, or an annexation request that came before the council a couple of weeks ago. It was approved on the first reading before it got to the public hearing and got back here for the second reading. They withdrew it. They've since chose to go ahead and follow through with it. So it's being introduced again at first reading. If you've got any other questions, Alex.
And procedurally, I mean, we've done several of these, but you introduce it tonight and no further action. We'll notice up a public hearing, just because of the timing that would occur on the first meeting in August. Have the public hearing, then adopt the fiscal plan, have second reading on the ordinance and go from there.
Any questions? Libby? For Joe? You have any questions for Joe? Okay.
No. I thought this was the one we already looked at one time and they
Yeah.
withdrew, so yeah, no questions.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-7A. This is the first reading. Ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Fortville, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the Town of Fortville, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the Town of Fortville.
I second.
We all second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Looks like we don't have any unfinished business. Joe, town manager, you have, yeah, you should just say.
Just a couple items. The governor extended the executive order that he had earlier on about not doing disconnects or charging late fees on utilities. That's been extended to the August 14th date. If you'll remember early on when we were talking about this, I believe one of the things the state board was saying is they wouldn't take any, objections to us doing these as long as the council had, approved it. So what we've been doing is adopting or taking a vote in the meeting, so it's in the record. So we do have it on record that the council approved that we do not do shut-offs or collect late fees for that period.
Okay.
Make a motion to extend that to 8/14, the no disconnect order to August the 14th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we've got scheduled for our public hearing for the sewer rate amendment for the next council meeting. If we make all of our deadlines, we're going to try to have that public hearing on the 20th. And then I've also given you all a letter that I received earlier today. It was a new resident that was wanting to contest one of the fees. I think it was for the sewer fees. It was charged to his bill. He went through the proper procedure as far as how to contest the charges. And he's got a letter there with all the information on it. And we're supposed to put him on the next agenda for the council to hear his concerns and take it into consideration. Between now and then, we'll try to pull all the information together so you'll be
So the
knowledgeable on it before.
sewer portion of his bill is $255.95.
Yes.
And that's what he's wanting, which is what that ordinance we're getting ready to do is going to do anyway, right?
No,
No.
I really would just brought it up to you tonight just because he brought it in today, just to make sure for the record that we did place it on the next agenda. I really don't want to start, but
Okay,
it wouldn't be fair for him not to be here to start discussing, I guess.
Yeah, we'll just pick them up on the agenda next.
That work? That's all I've got unless you got something for me.
Anybody have any questions for Joe? Well, you got off easy
I
tonight.
did.
Okay.
I even get to stand in the back.
Heath, you're here, so it must be gonna get a report.
Yeah, I'll be short and quick. Kind of. Heath Luther, Parks Manager for the record. Just wanted to touch base with the council on a few things. I got a phone call from the pyrotechnician for the fireworks. They have had to scale back the fireworks this year due to the fire marshal not approving the finale because of distance. I'm not sure if we've got a new fire marshal in, so I'm sure it's letter of the law, but just so everybody's aware that is taking place, that the fireworks finale in particular will not be what it has been in the past because of that situation. Along with that, I urged the council to, we took some time to put in these special event permits, and I know we've had some extenuating circumstances this year with COVID and some other things like that, but it really is logistically a nightmare to try and plan things from our perspective, on events that need things like electricity and barricades and things like that, a week out. It doesn't work. It's very hard for us to make things run fluidly, which, obviously if things run well, then the event goes off well and everybody comes back. And so those protocols were put in place, I know, before some of you guys were on the council. But I implore that as we move forward with this and kind of get out of this COVID, that we really start asking from the people that want to host events that we communicate and we get this stuff out way ahead of time. I know Nancy's been struggling with kind of some of those things. The reality of it for me was until last week, I was supposed to be gone Sunday all the way through. So I wouldn't have been here to handle any of the electrical stuff that's now hasn't been taken care of yet and that type of thing. So just keep in mind that, as we move forward, I know the chief has to schedule some people a ways out as far as the officers are concerned. So, and this goes for anybody that's putting in a request. The one thing I would ask, I believe they're going to talk tonight, just looking at this new COVID 4.5 or whatever it is that you want to call it now, per the letter of the law, I read it, and maybe Alex can clarify this a little bit, that whoever is hosting event, I would ask that maybe the council asks the chamber to get signs put up that talk about social distancing. Please stay 6 feet away, wear a mask if you're within 6 foot, that type of thing. Alex, do you have anything that would relate to that as far as what that said?
No, we had emails about it, not consistent with this, but there's an article, I believe, today about trying to get immunity for businesses during this time. Indiana hasn't done that, and if something were to happen, the town is going to be named in a lawsuit because you approved the special event.
Okay.
Now, it's the chamber's event, and that's what Keith and I discussed, and Joe, that really the responsibility should be on the chamber to ensure that the latest requirements in stage 4.5 that we're in, that came out last week, which is to, have social distancing if possible.
Okay.
And, we got a lot of space out there. It's possible. So we should, the chamber should be working with, the chief or whomever, and have folks out there to try to make sure that that's going smoothly. People aren't congregating and breaking the law. But I agree with Heath that I would encourage the council to encourage the chamber to make sure that
Put some
that
signs
event's
out.
running
Okay.
according to running the way that it should, to help with that.
And with that being said, not just any event moving forward until we get out of whatever stage or what, so the car show, for example, those type of things that need to have signs put out, and it may be an addendum that we need to put on the special event permit with an asterisk saying during this COVID time that, this is something that needs to be looked at. So just so on our end, you guys aren't approving things that, don't necessarily have that clause in there. So, that's pretty much all I have other than the dog park. I just wanted to give everybody kind of a quick update. We are currently up to 20 members at the dog park, which is a pretty fair start over the course of, first couple of weeks. The bathroom renovations should be starting this week, hopefully. Concrete will be hopefully sometime relatively soon, but obviously the park is up and running. And I'm hoping, again, I would like to have kind of a grand opening this fall at some point in time with kind of a little small festival that I will come talk to you guys about. But right now, because of everything that's going on, we're just going to, stay status quo and get everything kind of put in and working and things like that. So obviously some construction once that concrete gets in with some shade for the dogs and the owners and that type of thing. And then the last thing that I have, some people may be aware, I ran an adult softball league last year that was pretty successful. Indianapolis Parks Department has now shut down all their softball or all their fall stuff. There's a couple private facilities, Indianapolis Sports Park and Midwest Complex, that are privately owned that still may be hosting. But I think for right now, from our parks perspective, I can't ensure that bathrooms are getting clean necessarily on the weekends when these games are happening and that type of thing. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to run that softball program this year. But hopefully we can get through this and next year we're kind of out of sight, out of mind, hopefully. So that's all I have unless anybody's got any questions for me.
So how do you handle the practice situation if you can't handle the games?
Practice situation, I have marks on the fence. The children and coaches know that they have to stay 6 feet apart. All their bags have to stay 6 feet apart. They're not supposed to be going into the dugouts because, again, I don't know from a parks perspective if Johnny and his dad went over there just themselves during the day and were playing around in the dugout. And
Yeah, I don't know how you can control it.
you can't. And so the best that we can do, I've got COVID protocol from every team that's practicing out there, what their policies are, how they're using hand sanitizers, how they're disinfecting equipment, that type of thing that they sent me that we had as coaches, I'm a coach as well, that we had to put in place for our organization to be able to go places like Grand Park and travel and play and things like that. So all the teams have protocol. And so I'm expecting them to adhere to that. They've sent me all that kind of stuff. But as far as the restroom facilities, they know that the restrooms are not open. The Mount Vernon Youth Travel Baseball, if people have noticed, there is a porta pot that's over there right now. They're actually paying for that because they asked if they could have one delivered over there. And I said that would be okay. But if it got to the point where it was getting beat up or abused or things like that, that they would need to remove that. So far, so good. It's getting cleaned weekly by the service. CGS, I think, is the one who's doing it. But our facilities themselves are not open. Our only outdoor restrooms open right now are the ones at the top of the hill by the shelter house, and those get cleaned 3 times a week at this point in time. So,
Okay.
anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Adam's on vacation. Joe, do you have anything from Adam? Okay. All right. Chief's ready to go. I'll skip over Missy. Okay.
For the record, Bill Kennard, Chief of Police. I have one item. I'm going to ask the council, typically on July 4th, you're allowed to have fireworks from 10 a.m. to midnight. Since the town is technically celebrating 4th of July on the 11th, that doesn't fall within our ordinance. So I guess I don't know whether you need to pass a special whatever to allow fireworks so people will not be in violation of the local ordinance. My request is from 10 a.m. to midnight on July 11th, which falls outside of what our ordinance says. So how can that happen, Mr. Attorney?
Provide that exception, seeing how we've fallen on, a week out. Typically.
Because of the situation, because of the COVID-19.
And I think we're probably we could fall out a week all the time no, we won't, because the 4th is the cutoff. If they have it, okay, gotcha. So
What
we're
is it
good.
normally?
It's just gonna be odd.
It's normally from 10 a.m. to midnight on July 4th.
I know, but what is it when it's not July 4th?
I believe, I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I believe the last day is the 6th. 9th. Okay.
So any other time of the year they can't let off?
That's right.
Really? Well, somebody called me. Well, they texted me.
There are certain holidays like Memorial Day and Labor Day, special holidays that they can do it, but you just can't go out in the middle of August and no.
I didn't know that.
Then we have somebody that fires something off and we can't figure out who's doing it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, somebody out lighting Tannerite or something. So anyway, that's my request.
I'll make a motion that we allow the exception for July the 11th per the chief's request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's all I got.
That's it?
Unless you got something.
All right. Oh, anybody have anything for Chief?
Nope.
Okay. Missy,
I don't have anything unless you guys have something for me.
Alex?
Same as Missy.
Okay. All right, public comment. Would anybody like to come up and make a public comment?
Or you can go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to come up and talk to you a few minutes. Ronnie Wedgeworth here. I'm lived around Fort here for most of my life. Retired civil servant for 37 years. Retired veteran from the Army. So I know a lot of things. I'm here to talk to you tonight and suggest and ask for a consideration on amendments to the Chapter 74 of the traffic ordinance, which is the non-traditional vehicle regulations. It excludes utility vehicles. It defines, the only thing it really allows is gas or electric or gas vehicles originally designed and manufactured for operation on a golf course. I'm reading that right from the ordinance. Even the golf cart, those things similar that are used around town now were not designed for use on a golf course. You look at the carts on golf courses, there's one seat for two people and wells in the back for two golf bags. That's designed for use on a golf course. So I'm saying that there's a lot of other people around town that have the utility vehicles. The Gators, the Polarises, the Cub Cadets, that would like to be able to get inspected and registered to use on the town streets in accordance with your regulation. Right now, they're excluded. Those type of vehicles, if you own even one of those vehicles, since purchased one new since 2010, they have to be titled by the Bureau of Motor Vehicle. They have to be registered with a DNR and pay a fee every 3 years to have those vehicles. And those vehicles most of them have seat belts. They have rollover protection. You can get all the requirements in this regulation, or either add them on aftermarket or order them that way new. Lights, rearview mirrors, flashing lights, brake lights, the safety of slow-moving vehicle signs. So I think I would like to see you take a look at this regulation, this code, and take a look at those exceptions or exclusions of the utility vehicles. I'm not in favor, many of you are not in favor of the ATVs, what they call the quads or the four-wheelers or those type of things. They kind of tends to get a little wilder on those type of vehicles. So I'm understanding those, but these are wider vehicles, four wheels, rollover protected. My particular one has nets on the side for doors, all the requirements of this thing, but I just can't get it inspected and registered here in town to use on the town streets according to this regulation. The town owns Gators, the Parks Department, I believe, and they're excluded from this regulation. But if you really look at the exclusion, the only thing they're excluded for is paying the fee and the inspection. They still, that tells me that they still need to have the rear view mirrors, the lights, the flashing lights, the slow moving vehicles and all those things. I'm unsure if the town's Gator vehicles they use on the streets here in town have all the requirements of this regulation. They're just excluded from paying a fee and being inspected. So that's my comment. I'm not the only one. There's other people in town have these type of vehicles, but certainly I don't know why they don't come up and talk to you about it. I've been talking to the president of the board for a while about this, and so I decided to come up and give you a shout myself tonight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, if it's considered a farm equipment, what is the town on those Gators when they're driving them on the county roads and stuff? The town's a little bit stricter on what we can allow, the state is allowing? Okay.
We've done some research on it.
Okay, good.
This is coming up tonight, so, let me say a couple of things. I think everybody knows the difference between what a golf cart is and what a golf cart is not, okay? Whether it's got 2 seats or 4 seats or cradles on the back. You know when you look at it, it's a golf cart. So I don't buy into that. The other thing is, I had Major Braden, and we've talked about this extensively. You want to come up, Pat, do some homework and some research on this, and basically just what kind of can of worms we're going to open here when we start looking at this. So I'm going to let Major Bratton talk about it. We've talked about it extensively, but he's more of the farm guy than I am. So.
Okay. Evening, Pat Bratton with the police department. Currently, Hancock County does not allow any, they're designed as ORVs. That's what regulates Gators, Polaris Razors, Yamahas, Can-Ams, Kawasaki's, all the the UTV style vehicles, utility trail vehicles is what they stand for. Hancock County does not allow that on DNR's map.
Okay.
There's several counties that don't. The majority of the counties that do are without the bigger cities in them. That's first. Well,
Are they
we can-
really strict on that? Because I see them driving on the county roads with those spraying weeds.
It depends. So some people use them as a farm implement, and it has to be registered as a farm vehicle. At that point, a child of 8 years old can hop in it and drive it down the road, just like you could hop in a great big combine and drive down the road. It's perfectly legal for them to do, as long as they say they're driving to do it in a legitimate farm manner.
Okay.
Well, that's all through the B&B, I'm assuming, and Department of Agriculture. Okay, well, DNR is strictly, so you can ride on DNR properties. When you register it through the DNR, so you can ride on DNR properties, not on public streets, unless it's outlined in these counties.
Hey,
So-
right, let him finish, Ryan, then you can.
The styles of vehicles, and I looked up the speed limits on all the vehicles. Some of these will do 85 miles an hour, which would be the fastest, would be a Can-Am Maverick X3. You know, you have to have a driver's license. If in the counties that do allow it, you have to have a driver's license. If you're under the age of 18, you have to wear a helmet. Has to have all the proper motor vehicle type things, but 85 miles an hour. And a 16-year-old kid driving that through town with a helmet. Scary to me, or taking it out in the parks and jumping hills in it.
Right,
Because I know when I was younger, I probably would have done something stupid like that.
right. Well, when I was
Um,
16, I took my car out and did 120 miles an hour on the highway, so they can
Right.
take a regular car and do it too.
Right. So then the John Deere Gators, the XUVs, and there's so many different models. I mean, Bobcat makes one, Komoko makes one, Kubota makes one. The lowest speed on here is a Kubota RTV, which is 30 miles an hour, which still violates our urban speed limits in the town of Fortville. And here's all the lists and all the specifics on all of them. Here's kind of a generic guide to the ATV laws and UTV laws in Indiana. I'll be more than happy to make a copy of that for you guys if you want. It just kind of goes over who has to wear helmets and where it's allowed, where it's not allowed, what has to be registered, what doesn't have to be registered. Yes, I own a UTV. I got 7 acres out in the county. I drive around, haul firewood in it, things like that. I might drive to my neighbor's house on it. But our properties connect, so I just drive through his property and we get there. Mine is strictly, it's like I haul firewood in it. That's what I do. I use it to haul stuff around my property, and it'll do 60 miles an hour on a flat road. And it's scary dangerous.
Right.
And they'll tip easy. It's got the roll bars, it's got the roll cages, it's got the seat belts, it's got the nets, but I rolled it. And I wasn't going that fast. I was doing 35 and I hit a patch of concrete and went right over. So I drive it safely. I didn't think I was going to catch some concrete, and I did. And I rolled it. Scared myself. And I don't know if they're an item we'd want to have in the town because how scary fast they could be.
Okay.
But I can certainly make copies of this or any of this for you if you'd like.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay, Chief, go ahead.
Do you have a question?
No, Libby, do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
I just, my point is, I just think the council needs to use caution, if I can use that word, because where do we draw the line? Now, then we're going to talk about snowmobiles on the road. Then we're going to talk about different Gator, when you think of Gator is just a brand. It's a John Deere brand. But there's all kinds of other utility vehicles out there too that now you're going to want the exceptions to these, and you're talking about high-speed vehicles and things like that. So my recommendation is no, as your chief. And I think that's something that you should consider. Okay.
Wait,
Thank you.
let's wait till, Robert, do you have any questions for Chief?
No, we went through this. Chief, how long ago was that? Didn't seem like it was that long ago. Right. And I feel like it was properly, I mean, we went over this over several, you were here too. We went over this over several meetings. felt like we got a lot of input, got it just right, we felt. And I feel like it's in a pretty good spot right now. I haven't heard too many issues at all about it, and it hasn't presented you guys any issues that you're aware of yet, right?
No, and the golf cart, I can't tell you how many of those permits we're doing. I would say probably one a week. I just did one again this morning. So we're getting those.
How many do we have? Because I haven't seen that many golf carts.
I just see the same
Maybe
ones.
4 or 5.
you know.
Go ahead,
Now,
Missy.
The last permit we issued was number 19 or 20.
19 or 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how fast do gas-powered golf carts go? Because I've seen some pretty souped up at car shows before, so
Mhm.
how fast they go?
I haven't put a radar on one. So I don't really know, but I would say somewhere between, I was gonna say 15 to 20, but 20 mile an hour probably at the top. Most of them have governors on them. So,
They must mess with the governors, the one I see, because they go faster than that.
Mhm.
You're not tracking drag slips, aren't you?
Well, they do have them at the drags. They pull the cars with them, but I mean, that's not the only place I've seen them, but yeah.
I don't think I've seen one going more than 20 mile an hour here in town at the time I've been here.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple
Mhm.
my whole existence here, so I don't know, and they're just tooling around, so.
Mhm.
Right. Go ahead.
I don't think it's a valid reason to say exclude them because they go faster than I think it's 35 in the regulation here is what it says. I believe 35 miles an hour. So you're gonna ban cars that go over 35 miles an hour in town? That's what we got a police force for, to enforce the speed limit and the laws in town. If you catch one of those guys going over that speed limit, you issue them a citation.
Do you need a driver's license to drive a gator?
Yes, you have, your ordinance requires a driver's license to have a golf cart on the seat.
Now, if it's considered a farm implement, you don't need a driver's license.
Well, I'm not asking that to consider a farm implement.
That's what I'm saying, Ronnie, is where do you draw the line to a farm implement? What you say is not, somebody else says
I
is.
think you guys, several people have investigated where these ORVs or utility vehicles are considered farm implements, and nobody can find to define and say, yes, it is a farm implement, other than say, I use it on a farm, so it's a farm implement. So it's just another recreational vehicle. It can be used for multiple purposes. It's not necessarily a farm vehicle. A golf cart can be used on a farm. You're gonna call a golf cart on a farm implement, fine then. But it's not a farm implement. It's a recreational vehicle. They can be used to do work things or pleasure things. And yes, they can go that speed limit. Some of them go 40 or 50 miles an hour, most of them. But like I say, cars go 40 or 50 miles an hour. And I live out there on West Stat Street. I sit there and see them cars fly up and down that street all the time out there, doing 50 miles an hour coming into town.
And we try to enforce those, but it's
Yeah.
like going fishing. You can't catch all the fish.
I understand, so you complain that these golf carts are gonna do that, or these ORVs.
We haven't had an issue with the golf carts doing that.
I mean, now you're saying we throw in our ROVs, you're gonna say, well, you ticket them. You get.
What does Ingalls do? Because they have a lot of golf carts over there,
Change your
so.
regulations and
What
your
do they do?
violation procedures, and if they get certain two
So we
speeding
change
tickets.
the regulations for one person.
No, that's what I'm saying is, if they get 2 speeding tickets or 1 speeding ticket, you pull their registration, and they can't use it on the street because of that violation.
I think part of the intent was the safety aspect as well. I mean, the golf carts are, the feed, I think that's where the speed becomes the intent, Ronnie, is well, the ones on the street, the ones that we approved, there was a lot of things that we had to go through, and I can't rattle all those off to you. But a lot of the safety things, you guys, you've got it right there, Chief. You can rattle off the things that not just any old golf cart could be drug out and put out on the road. It has to have certain things, right? And that was one of the things that we did.
It doesn't mention, here it is, I read it right out of the car. Equipped with headlights, rear view mirror, tail lights, turn signals, and a brake system. It doesn't even say you have to have brake lights, you have a brake, you want a brake system. You want a brake lights, you should have said brake lights on the thing. A slow moving vehicle sign on the end. And a rear flashing light must be displayed when, after sunset to dawn, if you got it out there.
Mhm.
There's no requirements right now to have seat belts on a golf cart or even a windshield in it
Mhm.
to keep your bugs out of your face.
And well, and again, going 12 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. But I think the argument, we could go back and forth on this all night. And I think that that was the intent of this was, okay, we want to have one of these, you can kind of, I think Tanya or Olivia, you said kind of puttering around, right? Just a couple of them. That's the intent of it, not out basically being a substitute for a vehicle, a car, right? It was something that someone could leisurely get in and drive across town or something like that, not used as a, instead of their, does that make sense? It was just something that was more of a leisure vehicle rather than, I think that if people are going to purchase these, there comes a point where when you purchase a vehicle, as you're stating, there's the understanding is these aren't legal on the street, right? And if you want to go out, and one of the things we felt, and I understand, I'm totally okay with you coming up and asking the question, because that's how we got to where we were on the golf carts, right? So we eased it up and allowed the golf carts, but and we haven't had any issues. But again, they're kind of slow movers, kind of stay out of the way. And to your point, they just kind of putter around
The speed
town.
limit is a mute because a car will do 80 miles.
I understand, but
mean,
my
there's
car has an
speeders.
airbag and seat belts, and it's 2,000 pounds.
I know.
So there's a lot of protection around that. And I think that was the safety aspect, right?
I'm
So
kind of upset, Robert, because this has been going on for a couple of years since you did this. And every time I've seen one of these, when it first started, there was golf carts running all over town. And every time on occasion, I would have a police officer, I go up and talk to one of the police officers in town. So you say, that car, that golf cart is not within regulation, it's not registered. You know what the answer I got from those guys were? I'll take everyone have time, I'm busy over here right now.
well, and that's obviously something that I mean that would be something that the council would want to hear.
My rear end up, nobody.
And that's a separate issue. I would say that that's something that, that if that was something you were hearing a lot, then we would need to know, and we could bring it up with the chief, or you could bring it up with the chief, and I can assure you, my experience with the chief, that'd get taken care of.
I saw the chief, that was 2 years ago, he borrowed one of the town gators, over there on Church, School Street, where all those vendors were down through there, and he drove a gator right down through the crowd. I'm just looking at it and shaking my head.
That's, well, Ryan,
Let me say this.
you're getting
You got
personal.
arrested that night. You were upset. That's a town vehicle. Okay, it is exempt. So pick and choose your words wisely here.
Right,
I'm just saying it.
I'm just saying.
okay.
The town
Tell the whole
vehicle
story.
the town vehicle doesn't follow the regulation either.
The town vehicle is exempt.
The fees and inspections,
It's got yellow flashing lights on it.
You want to read it? Read it right here.
Hey,
I'll let council-
hey, Ronnie, let's,
Let us take a look at it.
yeah, let's take a
haven't
look
even looked
at
it,
it
so let's look at it.
and
We'll
we'll
look at it.
talk about it, okay? The reason, that this is surfacing because, Ronnie has some valid points. He is a resident of this town and he can come up publicly and just start asking questions. It's our job as the council to evaluate them and make a decision. And we're not going to make a decision tonight. No. But I want to thank you for coming up and at least voice your opinion. Sometimes these things get personal and I hate when that happens. We'll just stick with the facts, okay? And go from there. And I appreciate you coming here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chief, also. Thank you very much. And Patrick, thank you. Let me go back to my agenda now.
It's public comment.
We're still on public
Public
comment.
comment.
Oh,
Joey was
yeah, I
about
saw
to
somebody
come
else wanted to public comment. Come on up.
Has anyone ever seen Parks and Recreation? I feel like this is my Leslie Note moment here. If you don't know who I am Joey Claus. I grew up in this town and came back a couple years ago, and I serve as the Associate Pastor of Generational Ministries and Media Design at Fortville Nazarene. My good boss is right behind me, so he's cheering me on. I like that. I wanted to address on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. Some questions that have been brought up. And if you're wondering to yourself, why is Joey talking on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce? I just recently accepted a position to become one of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And my role is marketing and public relations. So I'm going to hand you a resource that I'm going to refer to. And before we even get to this, I'm going to say to Heath and to the chief, I've never personally met either of you. And what we're about to suggest, oh, we have, I'm sorry. We have an idea, and it may not sound good, but we just want to talk about it, okay? So let me give this to you guys real quick. And then after that, I am going to actually just read a statement that the board agreed upon this afternoon. And then if you have any questions after that, I'd be happy to field them. So I'm just going to read this, and then we can go from here. All right, here we go. I want to speak to everyone tonight specifically regarding the upcoming Fab Fortville Festival and Fireworks Show, scheduled to take place this Saturday, July 11th from 5 p.m. till dusk, when the fireworks show is scheduled to begin. The festival will be held at Landmark Park, close to our historic downtown district, and will be an opportunity to bring business into the community, specifically to those whose businesses have been affected by COVID-19. It will also present itself an opportunity to bring our community together in unity, as all of us have been affected individually in one way or another by this pandemic. We, as the Fortville-McCordsville Chamber of Commerce, are keenly aware of the concerns of hosting a festival of this size during a time such as this, like many of you, and treat this very seriously. Nothing is more important to us than the welfare of every individual, family, and business in this great community. The Chamber also wants to assure you that we've taken into consideration the requirements and recommendations set forth by the CDC, the federal government, and the governor's office, and are prepared to share with you our plan of action here this evening. I know there was some questions about social distancing and that kind of stuff. So, before we continue, however, we must stress the importance of individual responsibility during an event like this. We can and will share our plan, but these plans are not effective unless every citizen takes them seriously and adheres to them. Moreover, if anyone feels sick, exhibits symptoms of COVID-19, or has been in direct contact with someone who has, we strongly encourage you to stay home and just to protect your community. I'm a youth pastor. I tell my students all the time, don't be stupid. Just stay home, right? Governor Eric Holcomb issued Executive Order 20-35 as part of his Back on Track Indiana reentry plan last week, with a new phase he called Stage 4.5. In this, he specifically addresses outdoor festivals like ours. Here's what it states under Section 3. In Stage 4.5, fairs, festivals, parades, and other places of public amusement may resume, and if indoor, participants may not exceed 50% of occupancy, must also ensure social distancing can be achieved and maintained, and sanitization measures are implemented. If outdoors, like ours, the event must ensure social distancing can be achieved and maintained, and sanitization measures are implemented. Whether indoor or outdoor, face coverings are strongly recommended. With this in mind, here's what the Fortville-McCordsville Chamber of Commerce plan of action for the Fab Fortville Festival and Fireworks Show is. Firstly, all attendees are encouraged to wear a face mask while attending the festival. For convenience, there will be masks for sale at all major entryways into the festival. To set the example, the board of directors at the FMA COC have already committed to wear masks throughout the day when social distancing cannot be adhered to, and have requested that all vendors do the same. All vendors will be adhering to social distancing, being spaced at least 8 to 10 feet apart. Veterans Way, the main thoroughfare for vendors, will only reach 50% capacity of what it can hold as far as vendors are concerned. Due to sanitization concerns, the board has decided to suspend the paid kids zone and all activities that require multiple points of contact with equipment, including our beloved barrel train and the carnival games. The new farm animal exhibit and kiddie toy area will still take place and adhere to sanitization measures. There will be sanitization stations positioned all throughout the festival for the convenience of attendees. There will be regular messaging played over the loudspeakers throughout the duration of the festival, reminding attendees to adhere to proper social distancing precautions. I'm excited about this one. There is a brand new festival team established, and it's actually headed by myself. And its only purpose for the day is to move around the streets and communicate in a positive way social distancing measures, which means my golf cart, which I think is okay, is gonna go around. We're gonna have signs, and we're just gonna have fun with it and encourage that kind of stuff. And then additionally, the Chamber of Commerce would like to request the following measures be approved and adopted by the Fortville Town Council to further assist in our measures. One is to help us fund yard signs to be placed throughout the festival with social distancing messages on them. And then secondly, and we can have discussion on this, guys, okay? Starting at 8 p.m., we want to suggest expanding road closures in the town to allow attendees to spectate from the streets during the fireworks show. And so this is where your map comes into play. I've highlighted our suggestion, and I haven't consulted with anyone in the back, so this can be up for discussion. But what we're talking about right now is shutting down Main Street from Stat to Ohio, so a large percentage of our downtown businesses won't be affected by the closure. And then Ohio Street from Maine to Leland, Leland Street from Ohio to Stat, Stat Street from Leland to Maine, and then Noel Street from Stat to Mill. And then there is this school street from Ohio to its dead end facing Landmark Park. So I just want to share with you guys, I know there's conflict. I know that there's disagreement, and we're really working on improving our communication and our public image as the Fortville McCordsville Chamber of Commerce. And we just want to communicate that we want nothing more than to love on this community, help it grow, and really promote a sense of unity. I know that there's been political garbage in the past. I'm here to tell you, I wasn't here for anything. I'm fresh, and we have a fresh board, and we're wanting to work with the town and all of its employees to make sure we have a great and positive environment. So that's respectfully submitted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Are you gonna have people manning at Main Street just in case people want to get to their houses, but they can still get back in their alley areas? Because this is a short notice too, because close that down. But I don't see a problem in expanding this. I think it's a pretty smart, safe alternative.
So my question is, you're saying at 8 o'clock, you want to shut down Main Street
Yes, ma'am.
and Stat's already shut down,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, this is an
And-
expanding of closures.
Right. So are cars going to be parked there? Is it going to be an issue if people are leaving or like?
Well,
what
you're
is-
talking from their residences out?
Well, because is Main going to be closed prior to the festival starting at 5?
No, I don't
So-
believe so.
People park on Main Street.
Not from where.
From Stat Street to Church, there are parking spaces and people park all. That's the Stat Street's the worst one.
Okay,
That's where
got it.
people park all the time. But yeah, past that they don't. So I'm just wondering if somebody like is coming to the festival and they're gonna park. I guess it's just that one spot, but I don't know if people will park. Leland will be closed.
And I know this, we have to talk logistics at, this was just
Yeah.
a suggestion. So I may even defer just to Chief Knauer if he thinks that something better would be placed. But the idea behind it, the concept behind it is to create more space in the proximity
I agree.
so that people can adhere to social distancing.
Well, I like that idea. I wish we had a better view of the fireworks because it's hard to see outside of that park.
Well, if you're standing on
Shooting
Main
from the
Street,
street
it
there, but-
helps.
Building tops.
We have sat on our front porch and watched them in years past.
Yeah,
Now,
I can't
granted,
see
if there's
them.
any ground stuff, you can't see.
Yeah.
But anything that goes up in the air, you can.
Yeah, we've got a lot of nice trees. I don't see a problem with it. It's whatever Chief thinks. I'm
Well,
just
you-
worried about people that might get
Well,
blocked in
what
or
time of the
parked in.
we're talking at 8 o'clock shut down, or do we need to go 9 and shut it down real quick? Or
Well-
what time is fireworks? 9:30?
Between 9:30 and 10, it's when it gets dark at dusk. The reason we suggested 8 as opposed to 9 or before is people will come as early as
Oh.
5 p.m. to set their chairs up. And we want to make sure we give enough time for them to get there and it not be,
Okay.
the virtue is the vice. If we wait too long, there's going to be a mass going down there and that's not going to adhere to social distancing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that could bring their lawn chairs and set up right there. Okay. Well, Chief, could you come, or you guys have any questions?
Well, I guess my question is going back when we first talked about this event, we asked about road closures and there was none at that point.
Right.
Now we're less than a week before,
Right.
and we're looking at these, and some of my concern is some of these people on North Main Street, they're already gonna be parked there. And then now you're talking about shutting it down. They're not gonna move. I don't know where we're gonna put the handicap parking. And then normally on East Ohio, we leave it open so they can hit Leland Street. That's not on here, it's closed past Leland. So yeah, I got a couple issues with this.
Yeah, I think too, I think too, we weren't expecting the governor to pull a 4.5 either.
Yeah.
So, we were gonna go to 5 and then it was gonna be,
Open for everybody.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine.
Wasn't gonna matter, so.
Yeah.
So if I may, I don't, and that's exactly what I was going to suggest. I don't want to kill a whole bunch of time going back and forth. I'd be willing to work with the chief and with Heath and anybody throughout the week to make sure that this is a good plan for everyone. But I just wanted to suggest the concept.
okay. Hey, chief, why don't you get with Joey tomorrow and then, oh, you're booked? Okay. Okay. Hey, and then, also, the chief really doesn't need permission if he wants to shut a road down, does he? Like is that in his prerogative? If he could shut a road down.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So do we need to make a?
So I have a question. So what is I respect the fact that we're trying to come up with a plan.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this was kind of sprung on us, right? We knew this could be a possibility when we moved it back to July the 11th, although we were hoping not, right? So I like the fact that we're trying to get a little more comfortable, create a little more space. That this is just the first step. So I would ask, obviously, the chief will work with you with time he has, I'm sure, or someone from his department. So really the only three options we have here is go forward with nothing, just like we were planning as far as everybody gets together. When I say nothing, I mean no expanded, meaning so just like we were, everything normal year after year after year. That's one option. Second option would be something like this to expand it. Third option is no fireworks, right? I mean, those are all the options on the board. And I think that from what the sound of it, we kind of like this. And I didn't really hear anybody wanted to say we need to do away with fireworks.
No.
So I would think that we need to try to figure out, this sounds like the compromise, try to make it work, right? So,
Well, and I think we're gonna have people stationed at the barricade. So if there's somebody parked on Main Street that wants to get out, we can move the barricade.
Absolutely.
over
Well,
enough
and
to
and
let
that was
them
my
in.
other question is who's
Yeah.
gonna man those? Because last year, they were supposed to be manned and they weren't, and we had traffic everywhere.
I
don't
know.
have the officers to man.
Right.
And we do have a volunteer coordinator. She's actually on our board as well, Melissa Ham. And we will ensure that the barricades are blocked properly this year.
so my final concern is, what about the folks, like you just said, that are going to come and set up and the park's going to be packed? How do we get out ahead of that? Because the intent is to get them spread out. So what is the plan for that? Because I think that's the part that makes everybody the most concerned. And are there?
So for clarification, are you asking how are we going to enforce social distancing?
Well, I don't think you can enforce it.
Okay,
to
that's
be
what I was
honest
going
with
to say.
you. But basically, what's the effort going to be to so folks know that this is even an option?
Well, the barricades would be one big one, and I suppose all of our volunteers at the barricades could also promote it. And then in addition to, wash your hands, stay away from people, those kinds of signs that we'd like to partner and invest in, we could actually put some signs out too. At 8 p.m., these will open up for seating.
Are there plans to broadcast this on your websites? And because I would see this as people see barricades, they think parade, because this is a common parade route, right? And so they're not going to sit in the street,
Well,
right? So what's going to encourage that, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
So
I
I
see
like
that.
the idea of trying to get people spread out, but my guess is, my concern is what's the messaging and how are we going to accomplish it? 'Cause I think it's a decent plan. We just got to find the right streets. Right.
Find the right streets, and we have to make sure that, I know last year they had volunteers for the barricades, but
Yeah.
they took off, they disappeared. They've
Right.
got to stay there.
Correct. Right.
Because if people get out of their car and don't move those barricades, they won't.
Oh, yeah, they will.
And then I didn't hear, and I apologize if you mentioned, but
Mhm.
what are the plans for the hand sanitizing stations around? Are-
Yes, they're going to be pretty regular all throughout. We've made a whole bunch of purchases this past week to ensure that.
And the porta pots and such like that. I mean,
Yes.
plans for, like Heath was mentioning, the sanitation of those. So the plans for all of that.
Yeah, CGS is providing the porta pots, and we will have sanitization in true Fortville fashion, duct taped to them all.
All right. Alex, your initial thoughts before we move on or anything like that, as far as any concerns, any?
I mean, it's difficult for everybody. I mean, it sounds like you're trying to put things in place to encourage social distancing and for people to be responsible. Hopefully they will. Chamber's gonna have folks going around trying to enforce that, using that term loosely, it's what we're supposed to do. And hopefully, folks will adhere.
Well, I know they won't.
Mhm.
I work with teenagers and I'm super anxious about this. And I've already talked to Nancy and Becky and maybe came across a little harsh, and I apologize, Nancy, that I have high anxiety about saying, hey, world, come to our little town and let's have this big party and celebrate, because we live in our little bubble here and everything's safe and we're all safe and happy. So I just want to voice my opinion that I'm anxious. I own a store on Main Street. We're asking thousands of people to come into our town. They will all use my restroom. They will all be in my store. I have teenagers that go to HSE and they've got a big outbreak that's happening because they don't know how to social distance. And one girl is spreading it to everyone. So we can do whatever we want, but like Alex is saying, I don't able to, Nancy's not going to walk around with a fly swatter swatting people away. She might, I don't know, maybe.
We're actually
But,
keeping her to the gazebo the whole day.
I recommend we wear those pool floaties out to make sure we all stay social. Yeah, make a new vest. You could probably sell them, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's me. I know I'm a minority here. I just had to.
Well, I think it's safe to say we're all concerned, or we should be. And yeah.
As a pastor, it's been a very difficult time. You could ask Pastor Phil behind me. Navigating safety, but unity as well. And so that's what we're trying to find tonight, is a compromise between the two.
I want it to work. I love this event. I think it's fun. I love seeing the town come together. It's great, and everybody needs it. So I'm not against it at all, and I don't want it to come off that way. I just am anxious.
I think that that goes to show how quickly this changes, because there was a great concern, which is why it was kind of discussed to say, hey, let's push pause on this and let's see what happens. And then a month goes by and we all were feeling pretty good. It's like, we can probably bring this back and we can do this right. Well, now there's starting to be some concerns. I don't know if there's ever really a right.
I don't think there'll be concerns even later on. You'd have to just cancel for the whole year if you.
Which is why you do.
People will never do again because of
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Ever.
Which is why you do
So,
see some places canceling for the rest of the year. And, I don't know if that's right or wrong,
You can be in fear or not in fear. I choose to be not in fear.
Yeah,
So.
I know.
I know. Well, thank you very much.
All
right.
So we need, we don't need a vote, like you said, the chief. So you guys are going to work with the chief or the department.
Yes.
And identify the right streets.
Yes.
And
we
I have
will.
the confidence they're going to get it right.
Okay.
But the communication is key. And the sooner we get that out, it has to be soon.
And the one recommendation I had on behalf of you guys is we can help co-sponsor signage and stuff. We can even brand it for the town to be reused for any event that's upcoming, whether it be Jake's or the car show. And we can get that done pretty quick. So.
And I'm sorry. I know that we had a conversation initially, just a reminder, everybody's gonna be hot and tired and ready to get out of there. Just clean up that park. And I'm sure town will be there, right?
Yeah, we learned from last year. They're
Clean up.
they're gonna have a dumpster there.
Yeah.
Last year there was no dumpster.
Yeah.
I need to be clear. I don't think Heath is going to, I don't think
Oh,
there's
he's
any
not gonna
plan-
be there.
No.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
The boxes will be unlocked and.
Okay.
Whatever their setup is gonna be.
And the shed for the tables, we need to get that checked to them too.
Oh, I have money for you.
Oh,
Who wants it?
who wants it?
Missy?
Hey, we're working on it. It's last minute communication this year, but we're going to be much more prepared and we'll get through this.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank
Thanks.
Thanks, Joey.
If I could just make a comment, I'm
Please.
speaking now as the president of the chamber, And I heard the concerns earlier that all of the concerns about COVID should not be on the council, should be on the chamber. And I agree, this is our event. I want to make sure, are you comfortable with what you're hearing? We don't want anything to come back on the town to say it was your fault, because this is really not your event. So I want to make sure you're comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, then maybe we need to go back. And I know there's some issues that could have, should have been worked out, that's not. And I don't know if we have enough days in this week to really get things the way they need to be. I hope so. You know, I apologize for any inconvenience and any ill feelings that this event is causing, because it's not designed to cause ill feelings. It's designed to make everybody feel good.
Right.
And here we are right in the middle of this pandemic that nobody signed up for.
Right.
We didn't sign up for this, but we have to work with it the best we can. And I just, as president, I just want to make sure that you're hearing that we really are trying to cover all the bases.
Yes.
I hear it. Thank you.
Yeah. To answer your question, I hear that and I appreciate it, even though it's last minute. Should we have started sooner? Yes, probably. Am I comfortable with this event? I'll honestly say no, probably not. The way to be the safest would be have no event at all. I don't know that anybody really wants that, right? So that's just I understand. I appreciate the last minute effort. I mean, we'll see, right? I'm concerned.
But also I suggest if you are like 65 and older or have health issues, not to come to this event.
And if you're anxious or afraid, don't come.
I have to work.
Right.
I'm just saying, well, you can choose. I'm just saying.
No, I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're worried about it, close it up.
No, I gotta work.
Okay. All righty. Any other public comment? Okay. Town council comment. Libby.
I have none. Did you guys want to talk about this at all? Nancy? Did you want to talk about this at all?
Oh.
I'm sorry, I'm very hoarse. We are having an event tomorrow evening at Taxman. It will be upstairs. It's a sort of town hall meeting where the chamber is asking organizations, business partners, our members, our non-members, anyone who is interested in what the chamber does and improving it. It starts at 7 and is over, we hope, by 8:30. We just really want everyone to come and give us suggestions, not a beat down. We don't want a beat down, but we do want suggestions on different things that the chamber can do. And I'm sure all of you have heard or know that we've struggled financially. We're trying to bring it back. And so we haven't been able to provide some of the benefits we'd like to provide just because we haven't had the funding to do it. So we hope we have a good turnout. Right now, we're at about 25 people. So I think that's a pretty good amount of people right now for kind of last minute. And it's going to be, again, at Taxman upstairs. If you want a drink of any kind, you need to stop at the bar and pick one up and bring it with you because we're not going to have any staffing upstairs. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I have nothing.
Heath, do we get a discount on the fireworks since they don't have as many?
That's a good question.
Well, they're gonna have this event, they're just not gonna be as big, so you were talking about sitting, I doubt there's gonna be as many mortars going off and things like that, I don't have.
So it's a less
Yeah.
expensive firework.
Yeah, but they're still getting your
Okay, I'm just curious.
Becky?
No, I just want to make sure that the electrical box and the shed will be unlocked so we can get to the tables and.
Yes, so the plan will be worked out, again, that's what I'm saying is, the communication, we've just gotta make sure that there's communication going on there, because I don't know any details, so as far as when the electrician needs to come out, when setup time's gonna be, when your volunteers are gonna be putting out picnic tables, that I can make arrangements to make that happen, I just don't have any info.
Okay.
And
We'll get that to you.
Give somebody a key, we can lock that stuff back up.
I pretty much have everything out of there other than the picnic table, so moving forward, not just this event, any event moving forward, they will be under lock and key, and I will probably designate whoever the event coordinator is to be able to get a key for that event, and then I'll mark it and I'll get it back at the end of the event, make sure all the tables are in there. You know, to the point where on that sheet, there's, you know, from like cleaning the tables to being put back, you know, just properly type deal. As when somebody brings me the key back, we can maybe meet at the park, and go through and look, you know, okay, here's what I'm looking at. We've got 10 tables here. They're all clean. You're good to go. Give me your key. We're good. I'll let Missy know so she can get the deposit back. And again, this isn't just for the chamber. This is for anybody that wants to use the picnic tables moving forward. It's something that we can do. So the town had some things in that shed prior to those picnic tables that have since been removed. So.
All right, thank you. Robert?
My only thing is the reminder of next Tuesday. It's the 14th, it's that fire territory budget meeting
Okay.
for all of us.
You gonna be there?
I have to be there.
Is
So
it Zoom or is it in person?
it's Zoom.
Zoom's what I thought, yeah.
Due to the condensed timeline we had, so we're going to do another kind of triple meeting in one, so we can keep on schedule.
So you need a quorum to be there.
Yes.
And somebody from Chamber want to meet with me, I got a check for you guys afterwards that's in the car. But anything else? Okay, thank you. Oh,
Who do
I'm
I
sorry.
need to get the receipt for this check? Who does it need to go to? The
The
receipt?
chamber.
I mean, like, who do I deliver it to when I print the receipt?
Oh, to the chamber at Fortville, Fortville.
So you just want me to mail it?
You can, or you can email it if you want.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, and Joey, can I get a copy of what you read? I'd like to attach it to my minutes when I have it ready.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we approve and sign vouchers.
Second.
Libby seconds it.
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we adjourn at 8:17.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.